Hi, my name is Shane, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do an in-home estimate for house cleaning. So one of the reasons why you might want to do a per job price or an in-home estimate is to maximize your hourly rate. If you're a really good cleaner, you're going to make a higher hourly rate if you're bidding on your jobs per job. However, the prospect or the idea of bidding per job if you're new at running your own house cleaning business might be pretty intimidating. I know that when I was starting out, that was the case. It was pretty intimidating for me. So what I would tell you is that the estimate is pretty important, and the best thing that you can do for your estimates is to keep them simple. The reason why I would say that is because the most important part of the estimate actually is not the dollar amount that you come up with. I know that might be shocking, or you might disagree with me, but just hear me out on this. I think, after having done hundreds of estimates, that the most important part of the estimate actually is conveying confidence. The reason why is because the only thing that that prospective customer knows about you is what they see of you in the estimate. If you don't convey confidence in the estimate, it doesn't matter how many years you've been cleaning for somebody else, you will come across as somebody who doesn't know their job well. Because again, all the prospective customer has to judge you on is the way you act during the estimate. Now, I know that's unfair if you're just starting out, but that's why I'm making this video, to help you out, to help you gain more confidence. Now, one of the mistakes I made just starting out is I made my estimates overly complicated, and that didn't help my confidence. The more things you're writing down, the more things you're thinking about, the more you're stressing out about the price during the estimate, the less confidence you're going to convey to that prospective customer. Now, I'm not saying don't write anything down. Of course, write important information down. Security codes, people's names, those kinds of things. Don't not write things down. But I think after going through this video, you will kind of see the power of the idea here. You'll kind of see how you could simplify your estimates and not have to write very much down. And you could spend that time trying to build a relationship with that prospective customer. And I think that will go a lot further towards getting the customer. And by the way, when I say that I don't think that price is the most important thing, I do think it's very important in terms of the estimate. However, if you kind of miss a little bit on the price, there's always a chance that if you have the customer, you can try and readjust, and that's better than just not getting the customer at all. So keep that in mind. As we go through this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the process of doing a couple of sample estimates. So let's go ahead and talk about our example estimates right now. So let's say that you've got two estimates to do tonight, and at your first estimate, the customer walks you through the kitchen, the master bedroom. They show you two full bathrooms. They show you their formal living room, and also like a TV room, a family room, another living room. Now, for the purposes of this video, just so you know, I pretty much lump all the living rooms together, and the reason for that is because I think in terms of the actual amount of time that it takes, a formal living room is not really that much different than like a family room. One might need a higher level of quality done, more detailed dusting in the formal living room, for example. However, I think it kind of balances out in that usually the family rooms are easier to do, maybe a little more vacuuming, straightening up, but on the whole, I think they kind of balance out. Now, when I say full bathrooms, what I'm talking about is a bathroom that's just a shower, sink, and toilet. I'm not talking about these big master bathrooms with two sinks, two mirrors, jetted tub separate from the shower. I'm not talking about that. That would be an exception. And by the way, as we're talking about the estimates in this video, please let go of the exceptions that you come up with in your mind. I'm going to address them at the end of the video, so you just kind of, I know you're going to come up with things, or like, but Shane this, but Shane that. But again, I'll show you how to handle those at the end of the video. So again, we've got this estimate that is a kitchen, master bedroom, two full bathrooms, and two living areas. Okay, now if you're just starting out, that might be pretty intimidating, especially with the customer standing right next to you. It might be hard for you to come up with a price right then and there for all of those areas. Now let's say you go to your next estimate, and at that next estimate, I know this is weird, but all the customer shows you is one full bathroom and one living room. Now, in comparison, that second estimate is going to be pretty simple, right? Well, I'm going to show you in this video how you can make that first estimate with all those areas feel just like that second estimate where all you're giving a price for is two rooms. Now the way we do this, the way we simplify these estimates like this, or at least the way that I've been doing it, is to come up with something that I call your base rate. Now your base rate is not something that you talk about over the phone, it's not something you put on your website, it's not something you say in your estimate. This is just a tool for you. None of your customers need to know how you're doing your math, okay? Now, if you've been cleaning for a while, if you have worked for a large house cleaning company, you might be able to come up with these numbers right off the top of your head. If you have several customers already, maybe you're charging by the hour, you want to learn how to charge by the job, but you've got some customers already, you might, again, be able to come up with these numbers that I'm about to ask you for off the top of your head. If you're kind of new to running a house cleaning business, it might take you a little while. It might take you a week or two to come up with these numbers. What I'm going to say to you is go ahead and go through the process anyway, even if it takes you a little while to come up with these numbers, because even though it takes a little while, a little bit of effort up front, it's going to make your future estimates, your next couple of estimates, so much easier. So just trust me on this. So what I'm going to ask you to do is come up with an average time, and again, when I say come up with, that can either be right now, write it down, or over the next week or two, write down your averages. What we need is an average cleaning time for a typical kitchen. We need an average time for a master bedroom. We need an average time for a full bathroom. We need an average time for living rooms. Now, like I said about the exceptions, just let go of them. So if you've got some customers that have these really large kitchens, you know, 2 stoves and 2 sinks and a big island, a lot of floor space, I'm not talking about those. Those are exceptions. I'm not talking, when I talking about bathrooms, I'm not talking about the ones with a separate jetted tub and the 2 sinks and 2 sets of mirrors and a lot of floor space. I'm not talking about those, so just throw those out too. Those would be exceptions. The opposite is true. You know, if you have a customer and the only thing you do in their kitchen is the floor, or if you have a customer that's like a teeny tiny condo and the kitchen is just a couple, you know, just teeny tiny, you know, throw that out too. We're talking about averages, okay? So come up with your averages, again, for kitchen, master bedroom, full bathrooms, and living rooms. Now, once you have an average amount of time or an average number of minutes for each of these areas, I want you to add some time for non-cleaning time. I would say probably 15 minutes per cleaning. Non-cleaning time is the time between when you pull up at the driveway and you start actually cleaning something, and then the opposite at the end, from the time that you stop cleaning the last thing until you actually drive away. So I would say 15 minutes is probably a pretty good average on that. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're going to say that these average times plus your non-cleaning time equals 120 minutes, which is 2 hours. I'm not saying it should take you that long. Probably it should take you less time than that. But I can't watch you clean, so all I can really do is coach you through the process here. So we're just going to use 2 hours because 2 is a much simpler number to work with. But you can see from the math that I'm going to show you how this process works. When you come up with your own numbers, you can plug them in and do your own math and come up with your base price on your own. Now, we've got 2 hours. Okay, so let's say that the hourly rate that you're trying to make is $20 an hour. And again, I'm not saying that that should be the amount that you're trying to make. I'm just using a simple round number that I can do off the top of my head for the purposes of this video. So we have 2 hours, we have $20 an hour, 2 times 20 is 40. $40 is your base rate. So how do we use this base rate? What's the point? All right, here's the point. Let's go back to our example from earlier in the video where we had 2 different estimates. At the first estimate, the customer walked you through the kitchen and everything was pretty average. The customer walked you through the master bedroom and everything was pretty normal. Customer walked you through 2 full bathrooms, again, nothing out of the ordinary, and they walked you through 2 living rooms, again, totally typical type areas. Now, my question for you is, if you've already calculated your base rate, how many areas are you actually going to have to give a price for? Well, if you remember, I showed you that second estimate. And at the second estimate, all they wanted a price for was 1 bathroom and 1 living room. And I told you at the beginning of the video that we would make that first estimate feel as easy as the second estimate. Well, let's go back to that first estimate again. Let's take away the areas that are already included in your base price. In other words, let's take away the rooms that you already have a price for. And what do we have left? just one bathroom and one living room. So that's all you're giving a price for in this example. So you take your base rate, your $40, plus whatever you think is fair for the extra areas, the one, in this case, the one bathroom and the one living room. Now I hope you can see the power of this idea, this base rate idea, because what we're doing is we're taking the areas that you're going to probably do in most every house, and we're getting a dollar amount for those before you even walk in the house. The reason for this is so that as you're going through the home, anything that's normal or typical, you can pretty much ignore. You can focus your attention on the customer, and you can focus your attention on the few things that are different. And by different, I mean not just extra rooms, but also the exceptions. I promised you earlier in the video that I would address the exceptions, so let's do that right now. So let's say that you have the base rate, but included in the base rate is the kitchen. And let's say that as you go through the kitchen, it's not typical. It's huge. Okay, it's got the 2 ovens and that big island and the 2 sinks and all of that. So all we have to do is come up with a dollar amount that's fair for that particular kitchen. So let's say, again using $20 an hour as our example, let's say that you think as you're looking at that kitchen that it's probably going to take you about a half an hour longer to do that kitchen. Well, if you're trying to get $20 an hour, half of that is 10. So all you really got to do is just write down 10, okay? Because you know, as a reminder to you, that you're just adding 10 to your base rate. So your base rate was 40, now it's 50, and then you address whatever extra areas there are included in that. I should point out to you at this point that I've done a lot of estimates and I've got a lot of customers. One of the things you might be thinking in your mind is, well, but Shane, a lot of people have much bigger houses than what you're talking about. And I agree, that's true. Most of my customers have much bigger houses than what we're talking about. However, most of my customers also don't want me cleaning every inch of their home. A lot of people who have kids, teenagers especially, you know, if they call you up and they're like, I have a 5-bedroom house, that might be pretty intimidating, but you show up at the house and what you realize is the only bedroom they want you cleaning is the master bedroom. It's very common for me to have people be like, oh my God, do not look in any of my kids' rooms, I'm so embarrassed, don't clean their bathroom, so on and so forth. So just because somebody says they've got X amount of square footage, they live in such and such neighborhood where you know all the houses are huge, they tell you how many bedrooms they have, don't be intimidated before you show up with the estimate. I've found that my typical customer pretty much has a kitchen, 2 or 3 bathrooms, master bedroom, and 2 or 3 living areas. That's it. It doesn't really matter what part of town they're in. A lot of my customers are actually fairly similar. Not so similar that I would just give a one price for every home, but similar enough that you shouldn't stress yourself out about going to an estimate at a huge house. Now, like I said earlier in the video, I've done hundreds of estimates. So it's pretty easy for me to sit here and tell you about how easy it could be to do these estimates. What I do anymore is I pretty much have a sixth sense for how much a house is going to cost. As I'm walking through it, I kind of already know what the price is going to be, and then I really just kind of bump the number up or down by $5 or $10 depending on what I see in each area. If you do enough estimates, you're going to get to that point too. You're going to know what, for you, a $60 house looks like, or an $80 house, or a $100 house. And then as you're walking through these homes, you're kind of comparing to that. But if you're new, you only have a few customers, you're going to need a system. I'm hoping that the system that I've just given you, this base price idea, I'm hoping that it will help you dramatically simplify your estimates. Because again, showing confidence in that estimate, being able to stand at the door with the customer and say, your weekly price is this amount of money, I think that goes a long ways towards showing that you're a professional and you know your job and you know it well. So keep that in mind as you're doing your next estimates. That showing confidence is key. Again, if you need to take a little bit of time and come up with these averages, it's worth the investment in time. Just keep in mind as you're doing these averages to throw out anything that's kind of out of bounds, anything that's exceptionally easy or exceptionally hard or longer, just throw those out. Again, we're only talking about the averages, and that way you only have to address the extra areas and the exceptions to the areas as you're going through an estimate. So I hope that this video was helpful. I hope you've learned some things. Hopefully you'll try it out. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. I'll try and get back to you. I've got a lot more videos planned, so go ahead and subscribe so that you don't miss out on anything. And thanks for watching, and good luck.